morning I just wanted to do a brief performance review of one of my newest toys, a little monster that I found, the Smith and Wesson M&P 1522. This is an AR style rifle that is chambered in .22 long rifle, little brother to the bigger 5.56 or 223 AR style rifles. I think that this rifle has its use in a couple different ways. Number one, it's much more affordable to shoot than the 223s are. So people who enjoy shooting those types of rifles and maybe want to practice on a budget, I think it has a great use for them. And also for people who are trying to get their kids into shooting, or their spouse, or somebody who's not really wanting to shoot a big high recoil rifle. This rifle is fun to shoot, easy to shoot, and easy to learn on. So just quickly, this will be a quick review. There are other really in-depth reviews out there. I know Nut and Fancy has about a 45-minute awesome review of this rifle. I'll link that in the description. But this will be a brief, probably 5-minute video on the high points and low points of this rifle. So first off, specifics. The greatest thing that I feel about this rifle is how light it is. This thing weighs 5.5 pounds. I'm really moving toward lighter rifles. My first AR was an absolute hog, weighing about 8.5 or 9 pounds. So it is really a joy to shoot this, being 5 pounds or so, and I've added a limited amount of things to it to increase the weight. I do have the micro on here, which I think is one of my favorite red dot style optics nowadays, and a sling. And I changed out the backup sight. This thing came with an LMT style, sort of chopped carry handle style backup sight, and I changed it out for a lighter flip down Magpul version. Has a 6-position standard M4 stock. This can be changed out for a Mo version or CTR or whatever happens to be your flavor of stock. Has a mil-spec extension. This is not one that you detach from the rifle like you do on ARs. This is polymer and made into the rifle, so be mindful of that if you decide to change out your 6-position stock. But this is very serviceable. I haven't seen any reason to replace it so far. The barrel is 16 inches long. Coolest thing about my version that I was able to pick up is it comes with standard A2 flash hider. Original versions of this rifle just came with a standard rifle with no flash hider on the end. This is removable and threaded for people who may be interested in using a suppressor. Really awesome addition. I think the aesthetic of the rifle is a whole lot cooler with the flash hider on there. Also, this is the standard sort of detachable front sight post that came on it as well. It works. I didn't see any reason to replace it. I like leaving the front sight base on my ARs anyway. I don't see it when I look through the red dot, so figured it would be fine just to leave this one on. Already comes with a quad rail. It's non-free floating. I guess that would be one small thing that could be improved upon. But already you're set up to add attachments like lights or bipods or front grips, whatever floats your boat. Only thing I've added was a front sling, quick detach sling attachment point, because that was one downside I found on this rail, is it did not come with a front sling attachment. So I just picked that up from Midway and added it so that I could get my sling on there. This rifle is all polymer, which contributes to the low weight. The receiver is polymer, front hand grip polymer. Obviously the barrel. The barrel is made out of 4140 steel, which is a steel that's in a lot of ARs nowadays. There are newer, stronger steels than that, but I think it's very serviceable for this rifle. The fire control group actually it is steel. It's not polymer. I went in and added a yellow JP spring to mine and took it apart just to see what was going on in there, and it actually is made from all steel machined components, which I think is a plus. This hand grip is a Hogue hand grip. It did come with a standard A2 GI hand grip, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't like the bump on the front, so I just had this one laying around from one of my other AR builds, and I just popped it on here. Thinking about potentially replacing it at some point with in the future with a Magpul item. So this rifle is functionally, I would say, 99% identical to its big brother, the AR-15. You're going to have a different bolt carrier group, obviously, because of the different size of the ammunition that it feeds. But, you know, charging handle, functionally almost identical. It's a different size, so they're not interchangeable, but works the same way. You have your paddle, bolt release over here, which on the Smith and Wesson is functional. If you are familiar with the Colt version of the 22 rifle AR style, this is non-functional. So a big plus for the Smith and Wessons here in that this functions. As you can see, I'm completely unloaded here, completely functional, just like its big brother. Functional safety, just like AR-15s. I mean, if you're wanting to go out and practice on the cheap, run drills, things that you might do in a 3-gun competition or an AR rifle competition, I don't see how you can beat this. 1/10 of the price on the ammunition if you're using this 22. There is a couple different versions of this rifle. This, I guess, is sort of the standard A2 style because of the bird cage on the front. There's a performance model which comes with a different barrel made by, I believe, Performance Center. And I think probably the coolest version is the Mo version, which comes with a Magpul Mo stock, a Mo hand grip, Mo flip down sights, and the best part of it, which this rifle doesn't have, there's a QD sling attachment point right around this area for like a single point sling, which I think is perfect for this rifle given its lightweight. This rifle retails, depending on where you find it, in the area of $450 to $500. Maybe a little more if you're wanting a different version, but you know, for half the price of an AR and with ammo running about 3 cents a round versus the cheapest I can find, 10 cents a round for M193. Really, I mean, how can you beat this thing? This is a monster. So I'll go through just quickly pros and cons, then summarize, and then I want to show you just some video footage of me out playing around with this rifle and zeroing it. So pros, lightweight, and there's absolutely no recoil. I sort of touched on that already. You can hold this right on the target and just spam the trigger, all 25 rounds in the magazine, and never leave the target. It's incredibly fun to shoot. It functions almost similarly and almost identically to the AR, as I mentioned before. Drop-in parts from the AR-15 style rifles to this. You know, anything that you've got on your bigger rifle that uses a Picatinny rail, you can drop it right on here. Sights are all interchangeable. This is a Primary Arms micro dot, which, you know, is marketed for AR-15s, but drop it on this Daniel Defense micro mount and just drop it right on the rifle. Functions absolutely the same. As I mentioned before, hand grips, stocks, they're all interchangeable. Triggers are interchangeable. Let me give you one quick word of caution though before you try to just drop any part in here. I do understand that the width of the lower receiver on the Smith and Wesson is a little bit wider than a standard lower receiver on a 5.56 AR-15. So things like battery assist levers or bad levers may not fit because they may not be able to bridge this gap. And I don't know if you can see, but this actually proves my point. If you can look at these pins in this fire control group, they don't actually come all the way out to the edge of the receiver. And those are AR-15 pins in there. So that in itself shows you that this lower is just a tad bit wider. There's probably 2 millimeters of metal showing there on each side of those pins. So I would say it's maybe 4 millimeters wider. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about dropping parts around this lower receiver. This rifle is awesome for kids who are getting into shooting. You know, if you're trying to introduce your family to weapons, to shooting, sports, like I was introduced to when I was just a kid, this is a great way to get them into it. I don't think it's scary to shoot at all. There's not a lot of, you know, bang coming out the end of the barrel. It's not that loud. using hearing protection. There's no recoil, and you know, as long as you practice good safety guidelines, great way to get your kids in, or your wife or whoever, into shooting. So cons. There are a couple of things on this rifle that I would like to improve, and depending on where you read on the internet, you may be able to find some quick fixes for a couple of these. Really, the biggest problem that I've had with this rifle is misfeeds from the magazines. These magazines are incredibly finicky about the way they're loaded. They like to be, the ammunition needs to be staggered inside the magazine for it to feed into the barrel correctly. And as you'll see on some of the shooting videos I'm going to post at the end, I do have a fair amount of failure to feeds using this rifle, and that honestly was before I understood how properly the magazines had to be loaded. And you know, I came home, I was aggravated, and I did a bunch of Google searches and found out that I was loading the magazine the wrong way. So this magazine actually comes with a little loading assist button here on the sides that I've removed. You can see it's not there anymore. It belongs right here, and you use that to be able to pull the magazine down as you're loading it. But a guy had a good tip on one of the forums saying that you really don't need that, and it helps you load better if you just load this like you would load a standard, you know, 9mm pistol magazine or other you know, other weapons. So just load them directly from the top. So I don't know if you can see the ammunition in there, but you can see there's about 4 rounds showing, and the tips of those bullets are staggered. You know, one's pointing right, one's pointing left. That's exactly how you want this magazine to be loaded, all the way down to the bottom, and that magazine will load into the barrel correctly. And since I started loading my magazines right, I really haven't had any failure to feeds. The manual that comes with this rifle, you know, lists a couple different ammo manufacturers as being good ammo and bad ammo for this rifle, but I can tell you I've had no problem with some of the bulk packs of Winchester and Federal that just come off the shelf at your local store. There are proprietary magazines for this. This is made by Smith and Wesson. This is one of the ones that came with the rifle, and I've picked up a few more just from Midway. I guess that would be a downside of the rifle, is, you know, it's such a niche that a lot of the things for this rifle are going to be proprietary. So, you know, there may be 1 or 2 other sort of mass manufacturer 22 magazines that would fit in here, but if you want your bolt to lock back on the last round, you have to use this Smith and Wesson magazine that comes with the rifle. So a potential downside, and I wouldn't really say that this is a huge downside because it may not tremendously affect how you shoot, but this is a non-floating rail. It does contact the barrel. You can take this end piece out. It just has 4 clips. That may help your accuracy. I've read where some guys did that. You know, if you're shooting from a rest, if you're using a front hand grip, that may also affect your accuracy a little bit, but not a huge downside. This rifle is an absolute monster when it comes to shooting. You're going to see, I just took this thing out for the first time, and I was extremely impressed with how accurate it is. I got it zeroed in, got a good zero, probably about a 2 MOA group at 25 yards. Took it out to 100 yards and was just pounding a metal plate, really without putting a lot of effort in. You know, just laid out prone on the ground, resting on the magazine, or having a sandbag laying right here at the front of the barrel. Very, very impressed with the accuracy of this rifle, and this is just the standard version. It's not even considered the Performance Center version. So if you want a really good rifle that's going to impress you, that's fun to shoot, that with some attention to detail can be extremely reliable, I think that the Smith and Wesson fits that bill. The 1522, it's probably my favorite new toy. I know now I can go out and train and shoot without spending a huge amount of money. I really highly recommend this rifle, and hope you enjoy watching me put some rounds down range. Thanks again.